Okay, we're live again this morning. This is the Senate Transportation Committee, and we're going to continue our discussion this morning on district maintenance and fleet division budget. Wayne Gamble and Todd Law. Wayne, are you with us this morning?
I am.
Okay, I know
Good morning, everyone.
we had to call and wake you up. I know that you were sleeping late, I heard, so.
Trying to. That's why Todd's here. He's all
Okay.
ready to do the presentation on the budget. So I'm going to let him take the lead.
Okay, well, all right, let's start. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us. For the record, my name is Todd Law. I'm the Deputy Director of the District Maintenance and Fleet Division for the Agency of Transportation. And we are going to go over our maintenance budget proposal and plan for the committee. I'm sure you've heard this spiel many times before. What we're presenting today is the activity plan that rolls up into the bottom line, which is our maintenance appropriation, which is the $106 million that's at the bottom of this spreadsheet. Everything above this is a plan based on the asset needs and based on history. So what we spend for certain activities. So this is a fairly detailed budget presentation on this plan. And again, you know, after the first day of the fiscal year of federal or state fiscal year 23, this plan will be out the window, and whatever happens, and we adjust from there. So, but this is our plan based on the asset needs and what we do for activities and what we push for activities. So we're going to go through, and if you see anything that you have questions on, etc., we're just going to hit the highlights like we do in the past, so we can leave some time for questions. So a couple of the big things, you'll notice the top of the list here is maintaining structures and maintaining bridges. So we're putting a major emphasis on bridges and structures because we need to do this maintenance to save the precious federal dollars on rehab and reconstruction. The more money that we put into maintenance on these activities only save us money in the long run.
Well, what would you say, Todd, just a quick question on bridges, is that interstate bridges and state highway bridges combination?
Correct. These are all the ones that we maintain ourselves. Not
Okay.
to be confused, the Agency of Transportation also does maintenance. The major rehab and reconstruction on a lot of the town highway bridges also. So the state does the inspection. The normal maintenance and repair is done by the towns, but this is only what our maintenance staff does on state and interstate highway bridges.
Okay, thank you.
So you can see we've had a lot more additional work on banks and slopes is another big one, making sure that we don't have any slides, etc. And that's been a fairly significant endeavor in the last couple of years. As you can see in FY20, we spent almost $1.8 million. We bumped that up to 2.5 because we have identified additional areas where we need to stabilize the road edge, stabilize some of these banks, etc., that aren't going to be in a project. So we've put more of that into the maintenance appropriation. Of course, winter maintenance is up for FY23. We were successful in an RFR for our maintenance workers, or former maintenance workers. They are now classified as transportation operations technicians because of the additional work that we are putting on them, and more of the technology-based asset management. Everything's changing. It's not like it was 20 or 30 years ago, where everything was very laborious. There's a lot more technology involved, even to the plow trucks. Our plow trucks are very technology based. Our spread controllers are very technical, and have a lot of calibration that occurs and just different levels that we haven't had in the past, which made it successful for us with the RFR. The other piece of it, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Matt. Todd, maybe I missed this. Maintaining structures, is structures used in that context just like bridges and culverts, those kind of structures? Because it goes from 65,000 to 1.9 million.
No, we're talking retaining walls that are on the side of the roads. Let's see.
Only, but only like road infrastructure structures, not like a building.
Correct. Yeah, facilities is down below, and so we do provide money to, of course, maintain our facilities. But correct, these structures are the roadway assets, and not facilities. Good point. Thank you. So the other piece of winter maintenance, we had gotten some fairly good pricing on our salt contract a couple of years ago. And of course, with trucking increases, we saw an uptick in the last year, and we only expect that to go higher. So between FY21 and FY22, and now we're into FY23, we did see some significant increases in the prices of salt. And again, I think a lot of that is trucking, getting it to and from. There is a lot of rail that provides the salt into Vermont, at least, which is a benefit to us. We're using the rail yards instead of the roadways, which is an excellent endeavor for us. But there was still some increased cost across the nation. So we saw that here.
Todd,
Yes.
I'm trying to, so looking at the top of that column on winter maintenance, proposed for FY22, which is a current year, then is a $5 million increase over what you had in your plan for 23.6 million. And that's federal. And I thought federal generally wasn't available for maintenance and those kinds of costs. What is the source of that? Those or perhaps, perhaps it can be used. So I was just wondering if you could explain that 5 million of proposed federal there.
Yeah, and you can see that in two different locations on this portion of the screen. That's a great point, Senator Kitchell. The $5 million here and the $2.5 million up in maintaining bridges were from COVID relief funds. From the Federal Highway Administration COVID relief funds.
Okay, all right, it's CRF. But
Correct.
Then why is it proposed? All that money had to be spent by the end of the year.
Correct. So this is our plan for this year. And we're
Oh.
working with our finance and administration on paying those bills with those COVID relief funds versus the T funds. So you may recall some of the T funds were actually obligated to things like downtown development and EV infrastructure because they couldn't use the COVID relief funds for that. So they needed state funding. And as you know, a majority of
the book. Just juggle the books.
Yeah, our budget
know,
is primarily state transportation funds. So
okay, so what was confusing me is the term proposed, because 22 either it's been appropriated and it's there and you're moving it around, or you're asking for it in budget adjustment, which you're not here. So that's what was I was trying to understand. Okay, so it's a CRF money. And I understand we moved it around so that freed up general fund to for other things. Okay, all right. So this is really what you're this is what you're going to be doing in 22 and for
correct.
Funding.
From the current fiscal, we're in 22 already. So
I know that's why when you're saying proposed, it's like, well, everything is, unless you're doing through the budget adjustment, it's already been approved. It's been appropriated as opposed to you're proposing it for approval. So that's what was throwing me. Thank you.
Maybe we should call that planned, and that may clarify it a little more because this is our plan for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
And this is proposed for obviously the 23, like you said, it has been approved based on these levels. So that is a great point.
What's the 5 million? Does that include a purchase of vehicles or no? That's just
no. That is performing winter maintenance. Things like salt can be paid for out of this. So we're doing a lot of it is based on employees is what finance and administration is looking at for utilizing that CRF funds. That's going to be one of the easiest places for us is correct. The labor costs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Senator Pertuk, go ahead.
Yeah, Todd, the eliminating illegal signs, Is that the money that you spend to get rid of all the campaign signs that the senators from Chittenden County littered on the side of the road?
Yes, that is a portion of it, and all the mattress sales that are across the state. And
Yeah, that's not enforced very well. I'll tell you, I worked on that bill for some time, and the towns aren't enforcing it. I got to get after my town. They're still leaving them all. Whose responsibility is to pick them up? Is it the town, the state, or the highway that it's on?
it depends on the highway they're on. I mean,
Okay.
technically, the person who puts them out there should be, but
Yeah, no, I know, but we're not advertising that enough. And I know in my town, there's still all kinds of furniture store signs and all kinds. They're just cluttering the intersections, and I don't know whether they should be written letters, but that's a town issue. I'm not bringing it up on your part, but you're right about the political signs. That's another one. They ought to ban political signs in the first place. I don't think they do any good. They're a pain in the neck. So anyone who's thinking about buying them, save your money. Okay, go ahead.
But I bought 1,000. I only got 600 back. If you send me a bill for those 400 that you picked up, just tell me what I owe.
You bought 1,000?
Yeah, I could have gotten by with 500 of them too, but they were all over the place. So
Where the hell that must have cost you? What they cost? $10 a piece?
$4 a piece. I got them for
$4
$4,000.
a piece.
I bought 1,000 as well. When you have 44 towns, it's
Oh my
in 7.5 hours to get around your district. You need some signs.
Oh,
Took me about 4 hours to get around mine.
and all the politicians ought to get together, shake hands and say, okay, no sign. Nobody has a sign. That's it. Anyway, that's not our problem here this morning. Go ahead.
okay, so moving down, so you'll see again, focusing on some of our preventative maintenance, cyclical and preventative maintenance, washing bridges. So over the past couple of years, we haven't been able to use the servo lift or the bridge inspection vehicle that can get underneath the bridges. So we
Snooper
can get
truck?
good cleaning. The snooper truck, right?
There you go.
So we started using those in the last couple of years. We've scheduled it out with the bridge inspectors because, of course, that's the primary use of that piece of equipment. But we started utilizing that better, so we're doing a better job on washing those bridges, which of course preserves them. Maintaining gravel surfaces is another one that we've bumped up to some extent. As we get the water off the roadway, number one, it doesn't create hydroplaning or refreezing during the winter months, but also preserves the roadway so the water doesn't get down into the sub base and ruin the roadway and cause potholes, etc. So we put a big emphasis on that between grading off the road edges and ditching, which is another big one that we're really focusing on to preserve our roadways and make sure that we get that water off the road.
You better, you be prepared for the one that's coming up. It says cutting trees and brush because we have one senator has a bill about you're cutting trees, you're not replacing them. So that's
Yeah, and that is a great point, Senator Mazza. The point of this cutting trees and brush, number one, we cut brush around our bridges so
Yeah.
so they can get light and they don't keep the moisture in there and
Yeah.
again to preserve them. But there's a lot of hazardous trees along especially the interstates where there's high volume traffic. And we've had several times that trees have come down within the travel way, which is a hazard to the traveling public. So that's one of the reasons why we bumped that up. And we're starting to look more and more at cutting trees along those limited access, the high volume areas, just for the protection and safety of the traveling public. A couple of years ago, there actually was a hazard tree that fell down in New Hampshire and killed a family that was traveling in their vehicle. So, we've really been looking at those as being a major safety issue for anybody out on the roadway.
Well, the other part is I've noticed particularly softwoods along the interstate, but along areas, and I'm not talking about neighborhoods or villages where in fact they're getting so close that they're shading the road, which also changes your, it can mean that you've got areas that aren't getting sun and therefore are icy. So the tree issue we had was one around neighborhoods and residential areas. And I think what you're talking about are different segments of the highway infrastructure here
They are
to a large extent.
but we do get notification and we do see hazard trees, dead trees that are in the right of way that
Yeah.
need to be removed.
Sure.
So those would be in there too. And again, some of it's contractors. If they're extremely hazardous, we don't have the equipment, the tree cutting equipment to do the work. But our crews go out there and do a lot of tree cutting also. So some of that is our own labor and forces doing this work. So of course, picking litter over the last couple of years has increased. We're very, very diligent in the spring as winter ends and before the grass starts growing up, we get out and do all of our roadways. But we have seen an uptick in a lot of the rest areas and park and rides. So we get out there more diligently, especially over the last couple of years, to make sure that we do clean those up. Because we do pride ourselves on having a beautiful state, and any debris and litter is definitely detracts from that. So
It still blows my mind to think people still throw all kinds of stuff out on the highways and empty their cars at rest areas. Publicity we have about litter and recycling and everything, it still doesn't generate the motorist still throws all kinds of things out the windows.
yeah, we agree. It is a major emphasis, and we do put a lot of time and effort into it and expense. I mean, we have to dispose of all that too that we pick up. So, but again, it's that balance. It's not going to go away without us doing it. So.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. So I'm sorry.
So when I talk to police officers, sometimes regarding speeding, amount of enforcement and picking up more enforcement, issuing more tickets usually translates to safer roadways. Is there an argument for litter that we're not enforcing it well enough, tracking down, issuing tickets for litter? Is there any reason that we should have those broader discussions to try to bend the curve a little bit on the amount of trash people are throwing from their cars?
I do know we've done some outreach. I think the problem is most people who are littering are, I'll say, careful enough. So they're not doing it. A lot of times we see it on exit ramps and entrance ramps when it's limited visibility. And that's where we see a lot of it. But there is quite a bit, and I think some of it blows out of vehicles. We see a lot of debris and some larger stuff. Obviously we've had some issues in the past where we've found some trash trucks that have lost their cargo they're carrying, so the debris comes out of it. They've been really good about meeting with us. We go out there to take care of the immediate hazard, but when we've contacted them, they've been right out there with us, helping us to remove that debris and litter. So as we see it, we do contact, and like I said, from whoever it is, the local trash person to the bigger people around here, Casellas, etc. They've been very responsive when it's something that they find out about, if they've been involved.
You go to South Burlington, those council people out there, they have all kinds of laws. Last night they banned, you got to wear a mask now. You can't go shopping in South Burlington anymore unless you got a mask. They're tough.
And I get out there every year on Green Up Day and pick up all the trash too. So if you're seeing an uptick in trash litter, I certainly would welcome thoughts on how we can broadly increase promotion or awareness.
That's what we need right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely work with our public outreach on that also. Thank you.
Senator Mazza, you're still welcome in South Burlington. You just got to wear a mask for the next 30 days.
And if you come to Danville,
Tough council out there.
Danville, you got to bring your mask too.
No. Danville too? Wow.
Yeah, we've actually implemented it several weeks ago.
Gee.
It was a
wow.
very somewhat contentious select board meeting, I understand, but because a small number of people who opposed it. But the litter is a larger problem, particularly with the cost. And I know that businesses that have dumpsters have a terrible time with people coming and using them, or you see actually bags of litter. And so it's some of it may have fallen off, and just a lot of paper items and so forth. I know that there's should we increase or the bottle law, but bottle bill,
No,
but
No,
I don't
no.
see that many cans or bottles. What I'm
No.
seeing is a lot of other kinds of garbage,
Right.
and
I had a canister out front of my store for people that had wrappers, or empty cigarette packs. And people were chucking big bags in there. So about 2 weeks ago, I did away with it. I couldn't keep up with it. I mean, it's just they empty their cars out. I mean, just throw it in there. Well, Russ can tell you, he's in the same business up his way. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I was at what I was doing last night at 5 o'clock. I was going up and picking up litter from my car wash business, and we fill a dumpster every week, right full, right to the top, which is only it's not from the businesses, the amount of business that we do. But again, I could do a lot of different things, but I don't enjoy it. But I think it's doing a little bit of my part to keep it off the roadway. But
They caught Ingles dumpster diving up there, and they're going to give him a ticket, but then they found out who he was.
yeah, I have a funny story about that at another time. But yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, Todd, go ahead.
So the other piece of the maintenance appropriation that's changing this year, and you may hear more of it when the highway division comes in to talk. So with the new division, the district maintenance and fleet division, operations and safety is being removed from the maintenance appropriation and will now be captured under the highway division. So it wasn't a huge piece of maintenance appropriation, but there are a few of these in here, like signal maintenance that's done through Operations and Safety Bureau as part of the Highway Division. So there are a few of them in there. Safety management, of course, Governor's Highway Safety is part of that, which is part of the Operations and Safety. So those have been moved. And again, it's not a significant amount of the budget. It's a couple $1 million, but it really didn't impact a whole lot of these activities because most of these are district maintenance and fleet, or district maintenance on this one. So we've definitely increased our stenciling and painting. As I'm sure you've seen, we've started doing a lot more shared use on the highways. So identifying a lot of the bicycle lanes to separate them from the travel lanes and provide a safe area for them to work in. So there's been a bit, the last couple of years, there's been a bit of an uptick in that endeavor, which has increased the cost of that one. But again, so anything that occurs out there at any of these projects, when we do some of these complete streets projects, if they're on state highways, we go back out and do the stenciling. So all that specialized marking, we do hire out, and again, through the highway division and construction, all the long lines. So the yellow center lines and the edge lines, but a lot of those specialty things, all the turning arrows, all the stop markings that are on the roadway, all those stencils are done by our district maintenance staff.
Senator Mazza?
Yes, go right ahead. Yep.
So as Senator Mazza was just joking, I do serve on a city council here, and regarding stenciling and safety markings, we always get pressed to do them earlier in the spring season so that during the warmer months that they're more effective in increasing safety. Does VTrans work to focus or redouble their efforts in the warmer months before the summertime to get those markings done? You say before October, November, when snow's covering it and there's not as many pedestrians out.
We push to get them done as quick as possible. And the issue is there's so many out there that, it takes us the whole summer to get to where we end up to get everything done. And we are looking at, additional resources. So, whether we have to, and we have purchased a few more of the stenciling equipment. And we've pushed a bunch of our employees. We have crews that go out and do it. And in some of those higher volume areas, it's more efficient to do those at night. So we've shifted to that. We have a lot of, just like in the winter, a lot of dedicated employees who, understand efficiencies and effectiveness and get out there when there isn't as much traffic, especially in those higher volume areas. So, we've really been pushing to make sure, and we have some performance measures that we're looking at to make sure we get everything done. But yeah, exactly like that. We plow off and maintain all of the crosswalks. And of course, those are for the safety of the traveling public, people walking across the road safely. And the signs are good, but obviously those markings in the roadway are are extremely helpful and double that effort. So we do try to get out there as quick as we can.
Okay,
So I think that's about all we had for the highlights. You know, you will see one piece in here, the operating drawbridges, which is kind of standalone. You know, it shows 0 for the activity over the previous fiscal years. And as you know, that Grand Isle Bridge is
see,
actually
it cost you nothing. We didn't even take $50,000. It cost you, it's gonna cost you $50 million for the bridge, but we don't got something.
I know, I understand the $100,000 is for the bust of Mazda on that bridge.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Put my picture on it or something.
yeah. So we haven't had to maintain that bridge for the last couple of years because the contractor's responsible for it. But that's going to be starting up here. So
That's the only drawbridge in Vermont, just so you know, it's the only open bridge that's open for the lake in Vermont, so.
And when it doesn't, we hear from the Coast Guard that.
Oh, yeah, and I hear from it too, that's right.
So, yeah, we're very thankful that we have that project because as we know that drawbridge definitely needed some upgrades. So, you know, we're looking forward to that being more reliable and efficient. So.
Okay, what else we got? Anything else?
think
Any other
that's-
questions?
That's all I have. So.
Okay, so,
Senator Mazza?
yes, go right ahead, Russ.
So do we see the state portions of the monies coming down quite significantly versus what we're gonna get from the feds on this? Is that are we spending less as a state and as more of this federal money comes in, or are we about the same, or how does that work, Todd?
On the maintenance side, it's really not going to affect us a whole lot, except, you know, as our roads are better, we don't have to do as much pothole patching, but there's so many other activities that we have to do to preserve that after it's built. I mean, you know, 95% of it, maintenance is really doing the repair and maintenance of the life cycle of that whole asset. You know, the construction piece is one, but then we maintain it for years and years and years later. So, you know, we do shift some, obviously we're resource bound between our personnel and finances. So we do shift based on asset conditions, working with our asset management bureau and the highway division. And, you know, so anything we do, even our own leveling projects that we do for paving, we meet with them to make sure we're not spending money unwisely. We want to make sure we're not putting good money to a use that's not going to last as long. I mean, we do some Band-Aid fixes to get us through to the next project when the road's in serious disrepair. Which saves us in the long run. But you know, we are very diligent on working with our partners within the agency to make sure of this. So yeah, we shift all the time between all these different assets based on the needs and everything else, as you see in this one. You know, when we started looking at bridges, we want to do more preventative maintenance, but the obviously the better condition the asset's in, you know, we can save some of that money.
Anything else? Any other questions? If not, we're going to take our break and we'll be back at 10:30. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.